Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we're taking a look at the Freddy, the Tier 9 German battleship in Ranked. This is really where these ships can shine. If you've been missing out on that brawling secondary battleship playstyle, you gotta go to Ranked. Whether it's Tier 8, Tier 9 especially is really good right now, thanks to no carriers and no submarines being at this tier. They're still hybrids, but they're pretty rare, let's be honest. So you get a bit more freedom to move around. So if you've been really missing out on this playstyle, because let's be honest, random battles, it's very, very, very difficult to play these ships. As the instant you push in, trying to get into that secondary brawling range, you make yourself priority target number one, because you're closest, you're easiest to hit. At these types of game modes though, we have big maps still in these ranked modes, and yet we don't have the number of players. So we get a much easier time to push in, and that's where these ships really are going to shine. The Freddy especially here at Tier 9, having 406 or 420 millimeter guns, allows us to overmatch a lot of the cruisers at this tier, and we get that overmatched Citadel very luckily in on that Seattle. So it's going to push away that radar cruiser, hopefully allowing us to get the C cap. You'll notice here, we're pushing up with our team, especially with our DD, trying to keep him alive as much as we can, and then supporting him as we try and take this cap zone. It's really important to keep an eye on the minimap though in these ranked game modes. Understanding where the enemy team is going to be pushing, where they're going to be strong, it's really important. So all three battleships on the enemy team, they're going south. So we're going to be a very key player here, where we're going to be getting their broadsides, assuming they try and push through to the A cap. That's really their only option here, since they're really not going to get control of C. And in fact, their destroyer's up here, and he decides to smoke up within a black radar range. So I'm assuming this guy is just basically dead already. This enemy DD is well within our secondary range, so we should be getting some good damage in. But our DD decides to torp and not just radar this guy, and so we can kill him very easily. There comes the radar. It does come eventually, very nice, and I'm thinking, well, I may as well charge as much as we can to get this hydro in action as well. 6-kilometer hydro here on these German battleships is very, very useful. Something like the Georgia is an amazing secondary brawler ship as well for different reasons, but not having a hydro kind of sucks when you're playing a Georgia. You really miss it when you get to push up in these very close range situations with enemy DDs. Not only is it great for dealing with torpedoes, knowing when they're coming, but also just spotting these guys. I think our DD actually went behind the island there, unfortunately, so the DPM isn't in on this Jutland at the moment, but still, you get the idea. We do get a lot of value out of a hydro, especially in ranked. It's just really, really nice. We all are going to run out of this hydro. This Jutland will go dark here rather quickly, so we're trying to kill him off. And just as he goes dark, our last turret does manage to get him. That's the first kill of the game, so a nice advantage for us here. Into this match, we also have the C cap, although they're already in A, so really have to speed up here. We can't afford to just sit in the C cap and enjoy our advantage, because it's going to disappear rather quickly. So it's going to be very important to get a crossfire going here. Now that we know the DD has been destroyed up in the north, and the Seattle's kind of just playing behind the island, I really want to push middle, actually. You'll notice both our battleships and our destroyer are very much towards the 1, 2, 3 lines, and that's obviously where the enemy battleships are going to be angling to, which should open them up to be broadside to the middle of the map. So that's what I'm thinking about right now. Hydro's a minute away, so that enemy destroyer, the Fletcher that was in the A cap that capped it for the enemy team, he'll be probably trying to torp us eventually, but our hydro should be back up in time for that. The bonus here of pushing towards the middle is that we can always abort, we can always disengage if we need to by either going towards the enemy B cap if the enemy team decides to all go towards A and manages to take everyone out there, or we can also just straight up turn around since the enemy doesn't really have a presence towards their spawn. Their presence is really all towards that south side of the map where the caps are. Unfortunately, though, the Fletcher pops up. As you know, I always want to be helping on those DD engagements, and the moment he pops up is right when we're behind this island, unfortunately. I still really like this decision to not just go back towards where my friendly team is, and just kind of clump up there. I don't think that's a good idea at all, because then they just get to angle to us, and it's not going to work out nearly as well. Our Musashi does end up going down, unfortunately, so now it is just myself and the Freddy here for a crossfire, but that still should be good enough. And if you've been paying attention to the minimap and how things have been going, you've probably noticed already. While playing, I had not noticed, but our Freddy is actually AFK. He's not doing anything. Not shooting his guns, not moving at all. So he's really just a distraction at this point. And I'm pushing in thinking, oh, this is great. Look at this crossfire we're getting. I got my Hydro up. My secondaries are going on the Awami here with IFHE. That's going to be panning. Hopefully I spot this Fletcher soon. This is just great. We're going to win this game. It's going to be awesome. Both sides of the secondaries. And yeah, I still haven't realized. Maybe now, although I think I was just checking his health pool to see where he's at. But now we start turning. Here's when I finally realized. I'm like, wait a minute, that Freddy hasn't done anything, and his health is really low. He's not angling, and he's not shooting. Yeah, time to disengage. So, fortunately, I realize in time, and we do manage to get our turn out, this suicide turn that probably would have killed us had we waited any longer. Shocking Citadel there into the Minnesota somehow at long range, but we do get it. If we'd waited any longer, though, these torpedoes would have got us, and certainly once that Freddy had gone down, the focus would have been on us. And we managed to get out without taking that massive broadside hit, and we dodged the torpedoes. We get very lucky with that spread of torps there on that right-hand side. For some reason, they just kind of made a perfect gap for us. We get very lucky to have that. But even still, even if we had taken one torp, I think we still would have managed to live in, at least for this situation for now. So secondaries still on the Awami here. A lot of secondary hits, getting us a ton of damage. But there's a lot of damage to go at this point. We're down on ships and caps. This is not the situation you want to be in. Fortunately for us, our friendly DD is here now. So we should be getting a cap soon. And I'm close enough to help on the DD engagement if it comes up. Even if it is just secondaries, they're reasonably good at leading now, so we should be able to do some decent work there. And there is a smoke here, which I want to use to go dark, since the Minnesota is shooting at us. Fortunately, the Pommern's behind an island, but Minnesota can hurt a lot in Freddy here. You'll notice our superstructure is quite massive on these German battleships and can take a lot of damage when angled. So we're going to try and stay dark here, try and heal up. We still have 2 heals left that we want to make use of. And yeah, we just barely live. So actually, thinking back on it, if we had taken a torp, if that torp spread hadn't been so fortunate for us or unlucky for the Fletcher, we probably would have died here. That probably would have been just enough to kill us. But we're going to stay dark, not trying to engage here. We just want to get to that next heal. That's where that Georgia, the American battleships, on at least the premium ones, pushing in, brawling with those secondaries and the fast cooldown heal is excellent. We would have definitely been at a heal already, and in a Georgia, for example, where the Freddy, we got to wait a little bit longer, so you got to be a little bit more careful. Fortunately, our Aegir does manage to win the fight against the Seattle, so that does help us out, not having that HE threat. And I'm really just going to focus in on this Minnesota here, trying to keep the islands between myself and the Awami and Pommern, and trying to stay dark as long as I can. These torpedoes should finish him off, but still, we want to guarantee things, so we're going to try and fight this Minnesota here a little bit, and then go help our Kitakazi, since he probably will want some help if he ever finds that Fletcher, since we haven't seen where the Fletcher's at recently. Kitakazi takes a pretty big hit from that Minnesota. I understand why he shot, actually. It's pretty good tactic for destroyers who are torping things. If a battleship's bow into you, and you torp for them to turn out, and they're not turning out, well, if you open up, battleship players are pretty greedy, let's be honest. So they're probably going to turn to get all their guns firing at you, and that can run them right into your torpedoes. So good tactic there to use. I'm sure a lot of you know that already. That's not something that's very new tech. That's been around for a long time, but a good one to use, and it worked quite well for that Kitakazi. Unfortunate that he took such a big hit, but still, taking out that battleship was a big deal. And now he runs into the Fletcher. See, this is where I wish I was a little quicker out here to help out. We do need to trade this out, or hopefully the Kitakazi can win. Kita's DPM is quite nice. We're at a really bad angle, though, especially for a German battleship. Bow on like this, I do not trust the dispersion. And yet, we get 2 hits in, which is just enough to trade it out somehow. So we get very lucky there. Unfortunate that our Kitakazi went down there. And we actually lost our other destroyer as well, who played bow into a Pommern in the cap there. I'm not sure about that one, but It's now a 2v2. We're definitely down on caps, down on time, and we're down on HP. So how are we going to win this? Well, keep an eye out for our Aegir. He's got very, very little HP left, and they're obviously going to focus in on him. It's very important that we at least trade him for the Awami specifically. Trying to help out there because the Awami can overmatch the Aegir's bow, where the Pommern can't. Pommern has those 380mm guns, so always trying to prioritize the lower HP target or potentially the more dangerous one to your enemies or your friendly ship's safety. If we manage to kill the Awami, the Aegir should be able to hold his own against a Pommern, not die too quickly to that. But look at his health, it's like a sliver. Fortunately, though, another long-range citadel somehow out of this German battleship. I guess you shoot enough times, something is eventually going to stick, but we still need to kill him. If we can manage to do that, we can 2v1 this Pommern reasonably well. Just got my secondaries on the Pommern for now, not too worried about him at the moment, especially because he's shooting the Aegir. And we do manage to finish him off, and our Aegir is still alive. Somehow. I have no idea how. And, yeah, we've managed to turn this game around. Very, very close match. Nearing on 200,000 damage at the moment. Secondaries going to town on this Pommern. And you'll notice I haven't actually played Freddy for a little while, so not used to how it maneuvers. So we actually miss out on our front guns here into his broadside. Pretty unfortunate miss there, but it's not going to make too much of a difference, thankfully, since the Aegir does have his side. And that's pretty much going to do it for this game. Freddy managing to do, I think we got up to around 230,000 damage in this one in a ranked game, which is kind of ridiculous. I have not had very good matches in German battleships recently, especially in random battles, but even in ranked, they're pretty good, but oftentimes they can just be killed off pretty quickly through the superstructure, as well as if you charge in like this, you're typically going to eat a bunch of torpedoes, that kind of thing, get focused down, even in ranked. Last salvo here, maybe. No, the Aegir actually gets it, which is good, because he put in a lot of work. He may as well grab himself a kill too, so decent teamwork there at the end. I have no idea actually how that Aegir survived. I was sure he was going to go down. But we managed to win this one, even with an AFK teammate, which is kind of crazy. We got up to 337 secondary hits, which is a lot. That actually got us over 60k damage, which is pretty decent. As for the build here on the Freddy, it is actually a full secondary build. I've kind of decided when I'm playing these German battleships, I'm going to play him as a full secondary build, as that's what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to brawl. I'm looking to get those secondaries into play when I'm playing these things. If I want to play that mid-range sniping or potentially brawling, depending on the engagement, I'm going to play a different type of ship. I'm not going to play German battleship. So that's where I've decided to be at this point. So very aggressive build. Close quarters combat, probably not worth it in random battles if you're trying to make this thing work. But in ranked, I think you get enough value out of it that it's worth it over some extra healing or the concealment. Although in this one, that extra heal probably would have helped us be just a little bit safer. That at the very end there, we were definitely lacking on some HP. The rest of the build though, yeah, full secondaries. It worked out in this one. It's not always going to work, but when it does, it's quite fun and enjoyable. And that's why I still like to play these German battleships every once in a while for that full brawler secondary build, which does get 32 mil pen on the 105s when you're taking that IFHE. The DPM is pretty decent as well. 12 kilometer range, pretty fun to have a game like that works out. And of course, the Hydro is a pretty big deal on this ship as well. If you got a Pommern, that also is going to do quite well. You got the torpedoes at closer range too, which can help things. But still, Freddy is very, very good. Don't think the Pommern is just outright better. Having the higher caliber guns is quite nice for that overmatch. And Pommern sacrifices even more accuracy consistency to get those 12 guns, so a bit of a wash on whether or not the guns are better or worse, in my opinion. But that's going to do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.